So you're probably aware of the open source movement, right? So we have open knowledge, we have free software, and we have open design. And this is happening on a massive scale. So what are we doing today? We are mutualizing knowledge. Second, co-working spaces, fab labs, maker spaces, car sharing, bike sharing, skill sharing, airplane sharing. I'm sure that exists as well. So all these things, what are we doing? We are mutualizing infrastructure, physical infrastructure. Third thing, relocalizing production. I give you a few examples, just anecdotal, but maybe first, this is a statistic from the Netherlands. So they calculated the number of civic and cooperative initiatives from 1980 to today. From 1980 to 2005, you witness a linear expansion of these types of initiatives. So just bit by bit. From 2005 onwards, before the crisis, it starts growing exponentially. Just a few anecdotes. I went to Barcelona when there were 3 co-working centers. 3 years later, there were 50. I went to Vienna when there was 1 hackerspace. 3 years later, there are 15, and there is a rural network called Otello. We went to Catalonia a few years ago. There were 8 time banks. Today there are 400. I just read this morning the figures from France. The growth of cooperatives, 5% a year. You know, compound. This is huge. This is a huge growth rate. In just 1 year, 5%. Community-based agricultural production in the US, 48% in 2 years, right? So it's happening. So today we are witnessing a huge growth of local initiatives where people are rethinking food supply chains, energy, so organic food, renewable energy, etc. So we are doing the 3 same things that we were doing at the end of the Roman Empire. And of course, why is that? Because the problems are the same. The problem of the Roman Empire was a globalized empire that had a problem with matter and energy, right? It could no longer get enough matter and energy, and so it had to do these things. Okay, so when I talk about these things, I talk about peer-to-peer. Maybe now is the moment to explain what that means, at least in my interpretation. Here is the thing. Okay, let's take Wikipedia. Or in Linux, most of you will know this. Wikipedia, right? The global encyclopedia. The average team producing the Wikipedia is 1 person. The average team producing Linux is 4 persons. Wikipedia has no command hierarchy. It has a hierarchy, but we'll talk about it later. It has no command hierarchy. So what does that mean? We have to think about this. Okay, this is what I call peak hierarchy, right? Peak oil. This is peak hierarchy. So here's the thing. According to an anthropologist called Dunbar, I forget his first name, the human being and the primates can only remember 150 people and trust them. So this means if you have a social organization under 150, you can trust each other. I can go to you, we can discuss and make it happen. When you go up 150, we can no longer trust each other. And the cost of peer-to-peer, peering, becomes prohibitive. That's why we invented hierarchy. The tragedy is that hierarchy beats these small communities. So if you have a bigger community, you have more resources to be the smaller community. Basically means that all the cozy things that we like when we're in small groups do not apply at scale, right? We can't just be tree-hugging hippies because there's nasty people out there, right? Okay, so here's what's happening today, and this is remarkable. This is world-changing. Wikipedia, with 1-person teams, succeeds in creating an encyclopedia which completely outcompetes and outcooperates the Britannica, right? Linux is now used by Facebook, Google, it's used to go to the moon, it's used in satellites. It's outcompeted proprietary software. So this is important. We can now scale small group dynamics. It's very important. We can network and have the same effects than a hierarchical organization. Now let me give you an example. It's called Wikispeed, and many of you will know this as well. But just a bit of explanation, because it shows the advantages of the new way. So here it is. A group of 80 people in a dozen countries working for a prize, the Automotive X Prize, decided without any capital, to produce a car designed in 3 months that is road ready, certified, and 5 times as fuel efficient as any industrial car. Just people banding together. Of course, they're car engineers, right? But just brains, access to the network, no money. Industry in the US, and there's a big discussion about this, they say they cannot double their fuel efficiency. That's what they claim. This little group of people, without their billions of dollars, actually has done it 5 times, right? So here's another thing. If you buy a car today, it changes every year. But the changes that you buy are 5 years old. So how many times do you think the Wikispeed car design changes? Every week. Every week. So why is this? It's very simple. If you're in a hierarchy, every step of the way you need a permission. And every step of the way you need a control. It's a slow process. It's a linear and slow process. Now think about Wikispeed. What they do is, their design is an open design. Yeah? So, and it's modular. The wheel, the steering wheel, the thing around the car, whatever it's called. La carrosserie in French. The body of the car. So all these things are separately available on the internet. Any car engineer can change any part of the car anytime, in real time. Any innovation, wherever it happens on that car, is instantly available for checking and debugging to the whole community worldwide. Yeah. So they call their method extreme manufacturing. It's very, very fast, right? So this is why peer-to-peer, okay, what is peer-to-peer then? Well, peer-to-peer is a social dynamic that you have when people can collectively contribute to a common good. Yeah? So the relationship is not, I sell you something and you buy it from me. The relationship is also not a gift economy. I give you something and I expect you to give something back eventually. The relationship is, I develop a software patch for Linux, and I can use the whole Linux. Give a brick, get a house. Now, if you are in the immaterial world, in the world of knowledge, design, and software, you don't even need to give a brick. It's just there for you. It's a common good. Yeah? So here it is. So peer-to-peer is this relational dynamic that creates shared resources that everybody can use. When it's immaterial, it's abundant, everybody can use it. When it's material, you need some rules. So Elinor Ostrom got a Nobel Prize for actually studying the rules of the physical commons, right? And what you now have since about 15 years is an extraordinary exponential growth of the ability of people to join these projects and create collective resources at a global scale. So this creates 3 new institutions. The first institution is the contributory community. The people who can contribute to this. So here's maybe a question you have in your mind. How is this possible? Right? How can you manage such a complex situation where tens of thousands of people are in real time adding stuff to such a system? Well, to use a bit of a difficult word, it's stigmergy. Stigmergy is the language of the ants and social insects, right? A bee or ant determines its behavior by the signals of its peers. The queen doesn't command any bee, right? You know that. It's just there to make the eggs. So it's not a hierarchy. The bees is a collective where each part of the beehive gets signals from other bees and knows what to do. So this is what we've done. We've created a system on a global scale that is open. So any piece of code, any piece of design, any piece of knowledge is instantly available to anybody in the system. Think about the soccer team, right? If you play soccer, you see your team and you see the other team, right? So we call it holoptical. You have a total vision of what you need to do in the game. Well, imagine this, but at scale, at a global scale. Anybody in Linux, anybody in Wikipedia, anybody in Wikispeed knows what to do because it's an open and transparent system. And so what it allows you to do is to contribute freely to such a system. You decide. You can see what needs to be done. Okay, the second institution. Well, we need to make a living, right? I can volunteer. Okay, this is a paraphrase of Abraham Lincoln. Everybody, some people can volunteer all the time. No, yes. All of the people can volunteer some of the time. But not all of the people can volunteer all of the time, right? So this is the rule. So the problem is, how can we do this and make a livelihood? So this requires us to look at the relationship between the commons that we're creating and what's today the dominant system, the marketplace. And here's the rule. The commons itself is not a market good because it's abundant, right? In order to have a market good, you need supply and demand. You need scarcity. When it's abundantly available, you can push a button and have a copy of Linux. You can't sell it. So, how can you make a living? Well, you make a living by creating added value around the commons. Scarce added value around the commons. For example, I'm an entrepreneur, I need Linux, but I need some adaptation. Well, I'm going to pay a Linux engineer to do that for me, because his labor is scarce. I need to install it. I can't do it, I don't have the technical skills. I hire somebody to install it. I hire somebody to maintain it. I hire somebody to teach it. I hire somebody to integrate it with the other functions. I hire somebody to strategize it. You see how it works, right? So you have the commons, which is abundant, but around the commons you can have a vibrant market economy of people adding value to the commons. But what this requires is also a new way of thinking from entrepreneurs. Because here's the danger. Let's take Facebook as an example. Now, Facebook is not a real commons, right? Because it's basically people exchanging individually communication and things that they want other people to know. Here's what happens with Facebook. Facebook would have no value whatsoever without 2 billion people communicating on it. So we're co-creating value. Now, how much do we get for this? 0, right? So this is a problem. Imagine a society, which is our society right now, actually already, where people are exponentially able to create social utility outside of the corporation and outside of the state by creating these contributory communities and making things on their own.